New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
What's going on? This is Jay Ellis from Knick Of Time Show. Here giving you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time, and it's time for KOT's first Knicks game preview. And today we are previewing the Knicks versus the Detroit Pistons. And I'm not gonna waste your time, I'm just gonna get right into it. But before I get into it, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and join us at KOT as we break down the Knicks versus Pistons. Tonight is gonna be Friday night at MSG. It is our home opener. All right, our home opener. So it should be a barn burner, should be a lot of excitement, and the Knicks should have a lot of home cooking that should propel us to a win against this very young but very scrappy Detroit Pistons team. Now, as you know, in preseason, the Knicks walloped the Pistons, but this is not preseason. This is now the regular season. And, you know, things can change. They're just still playing with lineups like we are. So, you know, you take those wins with a grain of salt. But all in all, I feel like the Knicks are still in control and should win this game easily because of our experience, first and foremost, and our depth, second. Mob Deep, as Roll likes to call it, should actually eat today. And they've been struggling recently, but they should eat today. But before we get into the Mob Deep, let's just talk about matchups, right? For the Detroit Pistons, we have Cade Cunningham starting with Jaden Ivey, Sadiq Bey, Bogdanovich joins that crew in the starting lineup, and Isaiah Stewart, their own stretch five, right? Versus Jalen Brunson, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Randall, and the Block Ness Monster and Mitch Robinson. Now, Cade versus Jalen Brunson, there is a big height difference there with Cade versus Jalen. But what we saw in preseason is that Cade tried to post Brunson, but Brunson was strong enough to really hold him off. And really, Brunson was able to get wherever he wanted in the paint versus the Detroit Pistons. So even though there is a height difference, I feel like there is a savvy distance when it comes to the scoring of Jalen Brunson. So I do give the slight edge there to Jalen Brunson. Although Cade Cunningham, you do have to watch his passing. You know, you have to watch the passing. His strength might not just always be in the scoring. It might be more in the passing. So he really is the engine that makes his team go. But although I'm not worried about that matchup, the matchup I have my eye on, the matchup that most concerns me really is Jaden Ivey versus Evan Fournier. Jaden Ivey in general. Evan Fournier is just no match for Jaden Ivey. When we watched them square up against each other in a preseason game, Jaden pretty much got to wherever he wanted in the floor. And that was his first like real NBA game. And he did it against Evan, and he also did it against RJ. So when I'm looking at this team, I'm concerned about Jaden's speed. We do have problems containing speed. We had that problem containing the Grizzlies' Ja Morant when Ja Morant was able to get to the paint, collapse defense, and squirt it out to our shooters. So I'm very worried about that, but I do hope that the Knicks have learned from their game versus the Grizzlies and try to mirror more of the second half of that Knicks versus Grizzlies game and being able to kind of collapse the paint a little bit and spread out to the shooters a lot sharper. So I'm really looking closely to see if we can do that. And I'm also looking to see what's going to happen with Mitch Robinson, because I'm wondering if if Mitchell Robinson can help do that as well. Because I did remember that Mitch last game fouled out. The refs had it out for him, fouled out, and we saw a lot of Isaiah Hartenstein. So I'm very curious to see how Mitch's presence should help cover those things. So which brings me to the shooters. All right. The dangerous things about teams like Detroit, when they have a guy who can collapse the defense in Jaden Ivey, is that kick out to Sadiq Bey, Bogdanovich, and Isaiah Stewart. And out of those guys, I'm more worried about Bogdanovich on the offensive end. That guy is a sniper. He can get off his shot very quickly, and he really doesn't need a lot of room to get his jump shot off. So the Knicks really have to do their due diligence on the defensive end and finding Bogdanovich wherever he is, especially kind of playing like a stretch four. So Julius Randle, he has to be on his P's and Q's. And shout out to Randle. He's been doing a pretty good job on the defensive end lately. He lost a lot of weight, so I think it's kind of helping his mobility on that regard. But on the flip side, on the defensive end, I still think we'll do pretty well, as we've shown in the preseason game versus in the preseason. But this is what it is when Detroit has a lot of young players, and when you have a lot of young players, you have a lot of unpredictable players. So who knows game to game how they're learning and how they're progressing. But I still feel like this is a game for the Knicks to lose, and we should come out on top with that guard and energy, propelling us to the victory. Now, I talked about how earlier that Jalen Brunson schooled Cade Cunningham. And what I really want to see this game is what can RJ Barrett get back to the shooting he displayed in preseason when he had his feet set. He had he was concentrating, and he had the follow through, and he was able to hit at a very high clip, I think. But he ended preseason shooting like around 50% from three and the field at the same time. So can he recover? I think he will. If we do know something about RJ Barrett doesn't sleep well when he plays bad, and he puts in that extra time in the gym. I think being at home, having that day to practice is really going to help RJ Barrett get back on track with his shooting. So I do not expect that abysmal shooting numbers that I saw in Memphis. I think RJ will rebound here. Also, offensively, the Knicks scheme is to really pick on the weak link on the Pistons side of the ball. So it's going to be weak link versus weak link. Our weak link in Evan Fournier, please, versus their weak link on defense in Bogdanovich. If you watch that preseason game, the Knicks targeted Bogdanovich. It seemed like whoever had the ball, if Bogdanovich was on them, they had the green light to kind of ISO or drive. Even Evan. Bogdanovich was on Evan, and Evan was like, I'm taking it to the hole. So I will keep my eye on that to see if the Knicks look to exploit Bogdanovich's lack of defense and try to wear him down on that side of the ball. And also looking forward to Mitchell Robinson's recovery game. I know he's pissed. He fouled out the first game of the season. He should be able to bully Isaiah Stewart on the offensive end, give us a lot of offensive rebounds if needed. But he's going to have to come out and guard the three when it comes to Isaiah Stewart. But it's funny. Mitch is a guy who blocks shots at a very high clip around the rim, but sometimes he can also guard that 3-point line, and today he's going to have to do it. I know Miles Turner really burned him last season, but I feel like he's kind of learned since then to guard the 3-point line a little bit better. But it still might be a little bit hard depending on what they run. If they start running pick and roll with, let's say, Jaden Ivey and Isaiah Stewart, that can be a problem. That can definitely be a problem. And at that point, I might look to Tom to try to make some changes and maybe try to put in IQ or McBride to guard that pick and roll, because actually those two guys, percentage wise, are they very high on guarding the pick and roll. So I would take a look at that in certain instances and guarding Jaden Ivey, especially because I don't even think RJ, if you switched on RJ to Ivy, I feel like RJ has problems guarding speed in general. So I might go with one of those guys sometime during the game, even if it's not in a starting situation. But what's interesting, so let's get onto the bench, right? Because we already know for the Detroit Pistons, you have to look out for their youth. We have to look out for the drive and kick. We have to look out for the turnovers. They were able to turn over the Magic a lot last game. We also have to look out for the 3-point shooting. Last game, they buried 38% from 3 when the Detroit Pistons played the Orlando Magic. And they also got like 18 fast break points on that night. So we got to stop the turnovers. They also forced 18 turnovers. So we got to take care of the ball. And we got to guard the 3 ball. Some things that we really didn't do well in the last game, meaning in guarding 3 ball. Now, let's talk about the matchups on the bench. And this is kind of interesting to me. This is one of those things that make you go, And to me, this is where the real advantage of the Knicks should be. Even though Mobb Deep hasn't been the old Mobb Deep that we know and love, Quickly has had a lot of problems, it seems, figuring out when to pass, when to shoot. He looks a lot confused out there. So I'm hoping this is the game where he starts to get it together, because looking at him play, it seems like he's regressed. I need the Quickly from last season, from that last 30 games when he was surveying the floor, making the correct pass, and mixing in passing and shooting and diming up Obi Toppin for alley-oops. So I need that Quickly back. But even with that being said, we have on the bench Emmanuel Quickly versus Killian Hayes. That'll be interesting because Quickly does have a speed advantage, but Killian also has a length advantage. And it seems like Emmanuel Quickly has been making this an effort to kind of go to the rim more, but is having trouble finishing. So it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates playing offense against a taller player. Also, we have Derrick Rose versus Corey Joseph. I think Rose has him there. But here is the interesting matchup, right? Cam Reddish versus Kevin Knox, the two guys who were traded for each other. And as you know, Cam Reddish really turned some heads in Knicks Nation. And I think he's starting to make people believers, and good for him. Hopefully he keeps that train going, because as of now, Quentin Grimes is missing the game. He's still out with a sore foot. Hopefully he gets back soon, but Quentin Grimes is out. And so is Alec Burks on the other side for the Detroit Pistons. He's also injured, and so he will not be returning as well. Also, there's another Detroit Piston who is injured. Nerlens Noel. I'm sorry. All right, Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel is also injured. And I feel like I'm missing one. Marvin Bagley is also injured. So that's the injury list for the Detroit Pistons. But I think this is one of those times Well, we all know we've seen Kevin Knox play defense. It's not good. I think this is the perfect opportunity once again for Cam Reddish to really eat. There should not be that much resistance from Kevin Knox on that end of the ball. And I think if he eats again, if he does what he does last game, where he limits his shots to 3-point shots and driving to the hole, cut out all the pull-up dribbles, mid-range shots, take all that out, keep it simple with those two things, he should be absolutely fine. And he might find himself in a position where he's running with the starters like he did the last game. And I know a lot of us, you guys, want to see RJ and Cam running together. This might be an opportunity for him to do it again and further cement himself in Tom Thibodeau's rotation while Grimes waits. And this is going to make things very interesting in Knicks Nation if Cam plays well once again, because then Tom has decisions to make, and we might see, you know, other people getting pushed out of rotation, whether it be Evan, whether it be IQ, or even Grimes. But I don't. If Grimes is healthy, I expect him to play. But I can see other players, other minutes dropping because of the success of Cam Reddish. So hopefully he continues that today. And with Kevin Knox playing against him, I think he'll be fine. But the only thing I will say is Kevin Knox coming back to the Garden, playing the team that traded him, it might hype him up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. We might see Corner Kev come back in the corner launching threes. But overall, I think Cam should ride that momentum and get the best of Corner Kev. Now, interestingly enough, there is a little bit of a matchup that I'm worried about off the bench, and that is Jalen Duren versus Isaiah Hartenstein. Duren is a physical dude, 18 years old, big guy, very big guy. Does not look or feel 18. Very imposing presence. Last game versus the Magic had a double-double. He had 10 rebounds in that last matchup, 5 of those offensive. We all know last game when Hartenstein was matched up against Steven Adams, Hartenstein had problems rebounding the ball. So I would keep an eye on that. Also, we have to also keep an eye on his help side defense. Duren has it seems like he has a knack for blocking shots as well, so he also should watch out for that. We pretty much watched him up in preseason, but you know, this is not preseason more. The game start. This is the real game, so he might have learned from then. We'll see what happens. But overall, I still feel like the Knicks, they got this game in the bag. I think we got the game. Definitely think this is a win for us. So hopefully we will be celebrating a win tonight with Knicks Nation. All right. All right. So that's the show. Listen, I'll be back later tonight to talk Knicks Pistons with some guys. So definitely join us. It'll be a live stream. You already know what it is. We do live post games after every game. So you already know. You got to follow us. You know where to follow us. Follow us on the Knick of Time Show on Twitter. The KOT Show. The KOT Show on Twitter. I'm sorry. The Knick of Time Show on Facebook and YouTube. You can also follow us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And go to knickoftimeshow.com and get your merch as well if you want to support the Knick of Time Show. All right. That is our show. I'm out. I'll see you guys later tonight. And as always,
shout out the Worldwide West. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess.
It's a mess out here in these Knicks YouTube streets. I'll see you next time. That's our show. We out of here. Peace.
York, New York, big city of dreams.